Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast.
Well, hey son, I don't mean to cause you pain. Feels like I'm on your back again, like I'm trying to live your life. You see, I've been there before, walked in your shoes, I know the score. Maybe you can't take any more, but in time you'll understand.
Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast. And this week we have a very special episode because we're going direct to the island of Tenerife. Now, you might be thinking, why is Stuart interviewing someone in Tenerife? Well, it's very simple. Tenerife is a place that I hold very dear to my heart. I lived there for a number of years. I have lots of friends. And of course, I want to see Tenerife return to its glory days when restrictions lift. So this is my way of talking to some very interesting people at the same time as promoting the island that I love. So today we are joined by a very talented musician, Mr. Fergal Flaherty. How are we, my friend?
I'm good, Stuart. How are you? Good to catch up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it been over there? I know it's been a bit sticky, but are things improving?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a difficult time for bar owners and restaurants, you know, but we're getting there. It is getting there slowly, you know. I was up in Santa Cruz yesterday. It was my son's birthday. He's living in Santa Cruz, you know,
in the north of the island. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's playing football for Tenerife. You know, he's in the.
Oh right.
Just come out of the academy and he's into the senior team now, not the A team, the C and B team, but. Anyway, he it was his birthday, so we went up to Santa Cruz and met him in the Meridiana shopping centre. And at the very top of it, there's bars and restaurants. And it was absolutely hammered to a point where I was uncomfortable.
Right,
you know?
Okay.
And I can't understand why this is allowed when down the south of the island, the police are going into bars and restaurants and they're saying what you can and can't do. And the bars and restaurants are trying to do their best to accommodate. Yeah. Yet this is going on up north, so it's quite frustrating for bar owners at the moment, you know. Hopefully, when the UK is allowed to come in again, you know, we can slowly get back to normal. I wouldn't like to, as a bar owner, I wouldn't like to get back to the full whack, because
you've got to feel your way back in.
You have to do it slowly, you know.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for it, to be honest, you know, when we do get back to normal, you know, because it's been a long, really tough road, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so
light in the tunnel now, you know.
So why Tenerife? Why was the move to Tenerife? What is it that you enjoy about living and working there? Tell me what made you go there.
Well, I was doing great at home in Ireland, you know. I had a job I was working in a clothes shop. I was like 21 years of age, you know, and I was engaged to be married. I was in the College of Music in Dublin studying percussion. I was busking on Grafton Street as well, and I had my own one-man band going around the town. I was playing drums in different bands and just loving life and doing well. And I did a charity gig in my hometown of Drogheda. And there was a comedian there, and he was a well-known comedian nationwide, a guy called Paul Malone. And he heard me and he said, I have a friend in Mallorca has a pub and he's looking for an entertainer. Would you go over? And I just said, you know what, I'll do it. You know,
yes, I love stuff like that. You know?
So I did 6 months in Mallorca, and while I was there, I met a couple who were going to open a bar in Tenerife. That was 1993. And so they said to me, would you go to Tenerife when you're finished here? And I said, yeah, I would, you know. But they weren't opening up until April, May time, you know. This is November.
Yeah.
I finished in November, sorry. So I went home for 2 weeks at the end of October in 1993. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to jump on the plane and head over to Tenerife and see what's happening. So that was it. I just went over and got a job and worked my way to where I am now, you know.
And now you own two bars in Tenerife. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing. I mean, obviously, I have the hole on the wall, but
Yeah.
next door come up.
So what do they call a hole in the wall and what?
And a soul suite.
And obviously, if people come to Tenerife when they can, what can they find in those venues? What goes on entertainment wise?
Well, the hole in the wall is an Irish bar, and that's I entertain in there, So
it's like your home ground, home stadium.
It's an institution. It's just we have a huge following, really have, And but what happened was next door during the pandemic last July. The girls who own the bar, lovely girls, they come into the bar. I was starting to do a renovation on the hole in the wall because I just thought, while it's closed, you might as well get it done up,
Yeah, get a facelift.
And I thought, like, by September, October, we'd be back to normal then, So I kind of said, well, I'll do this. And so the girls came into the bar and they said to me, are you interested in buying a bar? And I thought they were joking. And I said, I've enough shit with my own bar. I said, I don't need to take on another bar. So then they went into their own bar and I sat and thought, well, I wonder, are they serious, So I went into them and they said, yeah, we're serious. We've had enough, we've had enough and we need, to just to give it up now. There's only a year left on their contract and so they weren't looking for anything really. So I just said to myself, well, it's better if I take it, because if word gets out that they want to sell it, there'll be other places, guys wanting to take it on and maybe turn it into an Irish bar, and then it'll take the whole balance of the strip. There's 14 bars on the strip, and the variety is fantastic. You've got the soul bar, you've got a cabaret bar, you've got a karaoke bar, you've got a bar that doesn't have any entertainment. And then two doors from us, you have the Bull's Head, a 5-piece band, and they're fabulous, So there's a great variety about everybody. Yeah. So I just said, you know what, I want to keep it the way it is because it's a great balance. It's the only soul bar on the island, So and I went home and talked to my wife, and I said, she just turned up with a cup of coffee for me. Look at this.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Flaherty.
Quite rotten. So I said to her, what do you think? And she says, oh, we've enough hassle with our own place. What do you think? I say, but if somebody else takes it and turns into an Irish bar, it'll be more headache, So we thought about it and we met up with the girls a few times and we took it. So if I'd have known now what has happened over the winter, I wouldn't have taken it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have taken it. So I had to take on the staff and the bar and all its stuff that comes with it. So we're getting there.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So predominantly you are a singer, songwriter, entertainer. Now, the best thing I can say to you, Fergal, is quite simply this. Last year when we went into lockdown, and this is from my point of view, a lad living in Lancashire in England, I think a lot of musicians, people like myself as well, we all started doing a lot of live performances on Facebook and other platforms.
Yeah.
I must have seen, because I ran a page with lots of acts on, I must have seen over 600 acts perform over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anyone that has the same viewing numbers that you do. So what is the secret? Well,
I was doing the live shows before lockdown, for about a year. And what I was doing was, excuse me, I was going live, even though I was in the bar entertaining people. I used to go for about 20 minutes or 25 minutes every Saturday night. I go live from the bar to show the people who maybe financially can't come to Tenerife or health-wise can't come to Tenerife. Give them a little taste of the hole in the wall where they used to go to on other holidays,
Yeah.
And they'd send me requests and say, will you sing this song? So every Saturday I have 5 songs, and I'd list the 5 songs on the afternoon, who I'm singing it for, and anybody wanting their name mentioned, just drop a message in below. And next time I'm inundated with all these people. So then I was going live and there was like 200, 250 people watching me.
Yeah.
and there was more watching me. There was actually in the bar, you know, but it started to build from that. But then when we came into lockdown, then I said to myself, I can't stop singing, because it's like a footballer. If a footballer stops playing football, puts on a little bit of weight, and then, you know, it takes a pre-season for him to get back into it. And I know with singing, anytime I take a holiday, it takes me 3 or 4 nights to get back into the role of things when I get back to the hole in the wall. So I said, I'm not going to stop here. I have to keep this going, you know. So I was doing 7 nights a week live on Facebook, but then I had to stop because it was too much. I had to pull back. So I was doing 4 nights a week, and now I've down to 3 nights a week. But it's enough. But my figures started to gradually go up and up and up. For charity as well. We raised about 30 grand for different charities during the lockdown, you know. My son shaved his head live on my show, and just said to people, you know, donate. We had a local charity. We donated. Our friend of mine passed away from cancer, and we donated the money to his to the hospice that he was in, you know. So we did that, and then the numbers gradually went up. And then Daniel O'Donnell was over here last summer.
He's a friend of yours, isn't he?
Yeah. He's a great guy, a smashing guy. So he said to me, I need, could I use your studio to do a live performance, you know, on Facebook? But he was getting 8, 9, 10,000 viewers, you see. You know? So we did set him up, and we did the live show here, because I have the iRig and my sound is direct, so it's quality sound. So he came in, and his manager was delighted with the quality of the sound and loving it, and his numbers went up near 10,000 people. So at the end of his show, he invited me to sing 2 songs with him. So I came in and sang 2 songs with him, and he said to the people, listen, Fergal's going on live himself at 9:30 on his own page. Why don't you join him? And next thing, my viewers went from 250, 300 to nearly 1,000 that night. And then some people stayed and some people didn't, but a good majority of people stayed. So on average, then I was getting 600-700 people. But now, since the bars are open and things are beginning to go back to normal, the figures are dropping. But I'm still getting 400 or 500 people a night.
Yeah, I've seen. I watched you the other night. I was watching you the other night, and I said, I was in bed with our last, and I said, look at this. And I held the phone up, and she was like, what? I said, look at the number. And it was something like a Tuesday night or something like that, or whatever it was. And it was like, I think there's about 522 people watching you. And I tell you what, I was watching the comments, and what a lovely community of watchers you have.
Like special people, you know.
You know, I mean, obviously they'll watch this interview more than likely, because they get to see you in a different sort of, you know, what does it mean having that support?
Well, Stuart, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you only for them. That's been honest, because the bars that we have and the support we didn't get from the government, I got it from Facebook, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. But you know, at first I was very apprehensive of putting a tip jar at the bottom of my shows, and it wasn't until a friend in Norway texted me and said, "Why don't you put a tip jar up? Because me and my mates watch you, and we want to tip you. It's our tradition to send a tip." And I said, "No, Ronnie, listen, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want people to think I'm doing it for money, or I'm begging and all this." So then I got a message from a woman in Canada, and she gave me a good talking to. That's been honest, you know. She just said to me, "Come on, you're meant to be a businessman. Sort yourself out. Stick a tip jar there and get some money in, and keep your businesses open." And then I talked to my wife and said, "Well, what do you think?" And she said, "Well, it's there for people who want to do it, and for those who don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. Just don't tip." It's not a you know.
You're not. It's not compulsory to pay, is it? You know.
No, it's there. If I know, if I was watching somebody live every night, I say, you know what, I'm sitting at home, he's entertaining me, I'll drop a few quid in this tip jar, and I will do that, you know. And people genuinely want to do it, and only for that we wouldn't have been able to keep the 2 bars going. And that's been honest, because the government haven't given us what they said they were going to give us, and they were still charging us taxes and social security. And the only way around it was I released an album as well, Lockdown album 1, and I just released a second one then last week.
Yeah.
It's all requests from people on Facebook who ask for their songs, and I learned it for them, you know. So I put one is 15 tracks, there's 16 tracks on it, and only for that has kept us going, you know.
I think it's fantastic that in an era where governments in every country and things and medias have sort of separated people, if you will, that something as simple as going on Facebook Live has united people for you, and obviously helped you through a very difficult time. Let's talk about your musical influences and people that that inspired you when you were growing up, and who you look up to now. If you were sat in a room, what kind of music do you like to listen to? Let's find a bit more out about you and your music and things like that.
Yeah, well, originally the Beatles was my you know, that was my influence. You know, when I was young, my dad had a collection of we were brought up on Irish and country, more or less, you know.
Yeah.
My dad had all the George Jones, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Charlie Pride, all that type of stuff. And he also had the Beatles. So I just clicked on to the Beatles. I love the country music, you know. I'm a big country music fan. And some great acts now in America. There's some super songwriters and songs that you know you wouldn't hear on mainstream. You know, but they're super songs. But the Beatles was my big influence. Even in my songwriting, I can see some of the little, you know, chord structures similar to, not meaning to do it, but it's just
in you.
Yeah. I'm a U2 Simple Minds. I grew up on U2 Simple Minds, that type of stuff, you know. But mainly, the Beatles will be Roy Orbison, probably my favorite of all. You know, Roy Orbison. Right. Yeah, because when I was studying in the College of Music in Dublin, Roy Orbison's last album before he passed away was called Mystery Girl, and the song Mystery Girl was written by Bono. And in the album are songs written by different artists, like Elvis Costello. He wrote a song called The Comedians. It's absolutely amazing, you know. But he released that album in 1988, and I was studying in the College of Music in Dublin, so I had my Walkman with me, and I played that tape, going to college and coming back, and I wore it out. And that is my favorite album of all time. If you get a chance to download it, it's amazing. He had the song called "You Got It" was on that album, and California Blue was on that album. Two great songs, but there's some fantastic songs on it. It's really, he would be my favorite of all time. Would be Roy Orbison.
Yeah, You Got It's a great song. I sing that in my. I mean, I'm a backing track singer, but I love singing that song. It's a fantastic song. What's if someone to put you on the spot and said, Fergal, what is your favourite song to perform? What would the answer be?
No, you put me on the spot.
Well, this is what makes good answers, when you put people on the spot.
Yeah, I have a few. I mean,
well, all right, give us three.
Okay. Right, I've one that I wrote myself.
Okay.
It's called "Hey Son."
Well, hey son, maybe it's worry, fear, or regret makes me want to overprotect, but that comes with loving you.
And he was 16 at the time, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, you know. And I kept questioning him. I said, "Listen, you know, what are you planning on doing? What do you want to? I don't know." And I was like, I trying to give him a little bit of a boost, you know. And my wife then said to me, "Listen, lay off him. Just leave him. He'll find his way. Just back off him. You know, you're on his back all the time." And I said, "Well, I don't mean to be on his back. You know."
Yeah, you're just being a dad, though, aren't you?
Trying to find the direction for him and see what he's thinking and what way he wants to go, you know. So, and then I had to stop and think, you know what? My dad was the same with me, and I ended up putting a little barrier between me and him, where he was wanting me to go to further my education after my school, and do something, get an education and get a qualification. And all I wanted to do was music. and he couldn't get that into his head. So he was an entertainer as well, but he also worked in the bank. So I knew where he was coming from.
Talk about polar opposites of two jobs, isn't it? That's crazy.
So he pulled me out of bed one day and he said to me, get on the bus, get up to Dundalk and find yourself a course or some qualification, whatever. You're not lying in bed. Now, I had done a full season working in the bars in my local town. We had a seaside village, you know. So I had done a full season there and I had really just a week off. I was working 7 days a week. Plus, I had my own little gardening round. I was cutting grass around the estate and that. So I had just done a week, and he came in, knocked on my door, said, "Get up out of bed, get up to Dundalk, find yourself an education." It was September. So I was on the bus to Dundalk, and I arrived in the university, and I'm looking, going, I don't want to be here. Yeah. So I jumped on a bus from Dundalk to Dublin, and I walked into the College of Music, and I asked for a course. And they said, "What do you play?" Well, I said, "I play piano, play guitar, play drums and that. The only thing we can offer you is drums." I'll take it. So I took that. I went home. I was all excited. And I went in and my dad goes, "Well, how did you get on?" And I said, "Yeah, I was up in Dublin and got a course in the College of Music doing drumming and percussion." And he goes, "I do not believe you." He said, "Of all things, the drums, you know." He said, "You can't put a drum under your arm and entertain people, you know." So it was just like, I said, and my mum said, "Just leave him, let him do what he wants to do." Yeah. And that's what I did. But I got a job in a clothes shop, and I continued on doing my studying. And I was busking on Grafton Street, and I was busking with the guys who were in The Commitments. Do you know the film The Commitments?
Yeah. Great film.
The guys in that film were on Grafton Street busking with me. They were in the Performing Arts College in Ballyfermot. So on a weekend, they used to come down to Grafton Street and busk, and I was busking with them. And it wasn't until the film came out, myself and my wife went to the film, and we're looking, going, and I'm going, I know all these guys. Busking, you know? Yeah. So that's my claim to fame. But so
that first song.
Sorry, the song. So I said to myself, you know, the only way I can get the message across, I'll write my song. So I wrote this, "Hey Son."
Yeah, so, I'm going to listen to that when I come off here.
Yeah, it's a lovely song, you know.
And what are the other two?
I would go with "With or Without You."
Yeah, superb.
Great song. And the next one will be.
I'll put you on the spot, haven't I?
Yeah, the next one is an Irish one, and it's a great song and a great story, and it's called "The Streets of New York."
Right.
And it was written by a guy called Liam Riley from Bagatelle. I don't know if you heard of the song, the Irish band Bagatelle. They had a massive hit with "Summer in Dublin." Right. And the guy was a genius songwriter. And I ended up meeting him and writing a song with him, you know. And he was probably Ireland's, I'd say, best songwriter. And his song "Summer in Dublin" was voted the best Irish song by the Irish people, you know. So "The Streets of New York," he wrote this song about a young lad who was leaving Ireland, going over to America to live with his uncle, who was a policeman in New York. And his father owned a farm. And he wanted to see the world and, you know, learn things and bring it back to Ireland and to make his family and his people a better place and make life better for him and his family. Yeah. So his father brought him to the airport and got a flight to New York. And he said, "Your uncle will be waiting for you when you go over." But while he was flying to New York, his uncle was shot in a raid in New York and died. So the story is he lands in New York, finds the apartment, realized his uncle had died, phoned his dad, and his dad says, "Just carry on with the plan, just keep going, and remember, be a proud Irish man." And then he returns back to Ireland because his father died. And he took a lump of sod with him from the farm, took it back to America, and he took over from his uncle. He joined the police force, and he's now he ended up the song. What's the last line? I can't remember it. But you put me on the spot now.
It's okay.
Yeah, so he took over the last line of the song. You don't know.
It's good that we don't know the last line of the song, because now we're intrigued to go and listen to it.
Absolutely.
There you go.
It's been 22 years since it's set foot in Dublin. My kids know to use the correct knife and fork. Oh man, I had the guitar.
I bet if you got the guitar out, you'd remember it.
I'll do it now.
Yeah, go on.
Hold on. Been 22 years since I set foot in Dublin. My kids know to use the correct knife and fork, but I'll never forget the green grass and the rivers as I keep law and order on the streets of New York. That's the only time you realize that he's a policeman.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that with us.
It's a great song. And that it's the story behind it. But the reason he wrote that song was he was doing a show in Ireland with different artists and bands. And one of the bands was called the Wolf Tones, and they were very political. And they were banned from national TV because of the content of their songs, you know. And there was a debate backstage between the lead singer of the Wolf Tones and Liam Riley. And Liam is very, very well-educated guy. He's self-educated, but a very clever guy. And the guys was giving out that they weren't allowed their songs being played on the radio.
Yeah.
And Liam goes, well, why do you blame them? He says, nobody wants to hear political stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, we've enough shit going on in our country without having to listen to this. But so the debate got really, really heated.
Yeah.
So the lead singer turned around and said, well, you write us a song and we'll sing it. And he did. That's how he went back to his house. He wrote this song, created the story. He'd run it past his father a couple of times. And his father said there has to be a twist in it. And the twist is the uncle dying on his way over. So that was the twist. So he came back the next week and he met the Wolf Tones and he gave them the song and they recorded the song and it was their biggest hit.
It's just crazy how certain things happen in it, especially with music, how just something collides and it just creates, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And thank you for sharing that. Fergal, right, before we, I've got a couple of questions for you shortly, a 10-question shootout that'll put you on the spot, don't worry. But before we get to that, I believe you had the pleasure one night of a certain Sir Cliff Richard coming into the bar, and not only coming into the bar, getting up and performing.
Yeah. And he played that guitar that I have there now. He played the guitar. Do you know, I'm friends with Daniel O'Donnell. So we had a golf, we have a golf charity do every year in the Hole in the Wall.
Oh, you play off scratch, you don't you?
Well, I'm not scratch.
I've heard about you.
Close to it. But you know, our good friend Chris Kamara from Sky Sports. Chris is involved in the bar.
I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah. Unbelievable. The guy, I'll tell you what you see on TV is what you get. You know, even in person, he's just so funny and so good to be around, you know. Yeah. Excuse me, but we had our golf tournament and Daniel was over and he played in the tournament. And just at the end, he came over to me and said, listen, I have visitors in my house. I have to go. I can't stay. And I said, no problem. Work away. He never told me who it was, you know. Mm. So we had the presentation in the bar for the golf and the place was packed. And Daniel comes in and comes straight up. And his wife said to me, get Daniel up for a song. I said, okay. So I got him up and he came up and I have all his backing tracks because I've done a couple of shows with him and a few family weddings and stuff with him. So he gave me his tracks to put on my system. So when he's doing a show with me, I have it all prepared for him, you know? Yeah. So I had his tracks ready and he did a few songs. And I'm looking at the door and I'm going, God, that looks like Cliff Richard, you know? And I thought it was somebody, because, you know, we get a tribute, you get some tribute guys over in Tenerife, you know, that do different. Yeah. And I thought it was just a tribute act, you know? Mm. So next thing, Daniel turns to me and he says, have you got that Singing the Blues ready? And I said, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. I said, is that Cliff Richard down there? Yeah, he's staying with me for a few days, you know? So, oh my God. So I started the track and then Daniel just went like this and waved the microphone at him. And I'm not joking you, Stuart. The guy, he was 76 at the time. I think he's or 75 at the time. He ran the whole way up through the crowd. Nobody knew he was in. Didn't see him. And he leaped about 6 foot from the stage, leaped in the air, grabbed the microphone and turned around in midair and started singing. Right, I had the track running, and because he had a hit with that, singing the blues.
Yeah.
And the place just went crazy. I've never seen, you know, this Beatlemania and all that type of stuff. We never experienced any of that. This was just unbelievable. My wife was there at the time, and a friend of mine who's from Northern Ireland. He's a cage fighter.
Right.
My wife at the time was training Krav Maga. So the two of them had to stand at the front of the stage and stop people, literally. Women.
Well, Andy had a cage fighter then, wasn't it?
Women were trying to touch him, you know, and this woman said, "I only want to touch him. I only want to touch him." You know, it was like this place went crazy, you know. So he got up and sang his very first hit was called "Move It." So he did a cute version of that, and he did a little medley of his own stuff that he had hits with, and then he sang a song with Daniel. Then, you know.
Oh, it's fun. It's fantastic. I love stuff like that. You know, it's just a once in a sort of lifetime occurrence when things work right and the situations there, you having the backing tracks and things like that. It was just, you know, it's lovely. Right, before we wrap up, Fergal, with my 10 questions by Bernard Pivot. Why should people come back to Tenerife when they are allowed to? What is it that Tenerife that makes it special?
It's clean. It's got super entertainment. The entertainment on the island is fantastic. You know, scenery is amazing. You know yourself. I don't know why people just come to Tenerife and spend 7 nights a week. Just in
Veronica's.
They should just explore the island. The island it's just unbelievable. It really is. Some fabulous places to see. The other side of the island, Buena Vista, Masca, TD, all the, you know, there's some beautiful things to do and see. And it's a fabulous island. And I would recommend anybody to hire a car and get lost for a few days. Honestly, it's amazing what you see.
And if you go into the Hole in the Wall bar and say, "I've come here because of the Lancashire Lab podcast," and when I go over, Fergal might give me a free drink. So there you go.
I'll do that. I'll sort that out.
I can build credit up due to this podcast. So listen, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. Now, just say the first thing that comes to your head. You don't have to overthink it. It was just 10 questions that Bernard Pivot made up, and James Lipton used to ask fellow actors in his interviews. So question number 1, quick fire, or as quick as you can. Number 1, what is your favourite word?
Absolutely.
What is your least favourite word?
Never. Hate.
Hate, okay. What turns you on?
Music.
What turns you off?
Negativity.
What sound do you love?
A child laughing.
What sound, I think I might know where this is going, but you never know. What sound do you hate?
For a child crying.
That's fair enough, yeah. I've just had twins, Fergal, and they just cry all the time. What is your favourite curse word?
Can I say it?
Yeah.
I can't stand when somebody says cunt.
No, your favourite curse word.
Oh, my favourite one?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, let me see. Come
on, when you're angry or you're having a bit of a rant, what's your favourite curse word?
Bollocks.
Bollocks, fair enough. And then obviously, next question is, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A pilot.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. What profession would you not like to participate in?
Ooh, what would I not like to be? God.
A banker like your dad.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah. I wouldn't like an office job anyway, that's for sure.
That's cool. And finally, if heaven exists, What would you like to hear God say as you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did what I asked you to do.
What a great answer. Yeah. Fergal, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I'm certainly looking forward to coming over and coming to meet you in person, because for all the years I lived there for 3 years on and off. And I never got the pleasure of meeting you, but we have mutual friends.
Absolutely.
And so if people want to watch your live performances, how do they do that? It's on Facebook, and it is at Fergal Flaherty.
Singer-songwriter. Fergal Flaherty, singer-songwriter. Yeah. I'm live every Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 10 p.m.
So it must have been Sunday when I watched you then this week.
It could have been, yeah.
Okay, so once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Lancashire Lad podcast. This was Fergal Flaherty. You can watch him live on Facebook. And of course, if you go to Tenerife, go to the Hole in the Wall bar, go to the Soul Suite. Is that correct? Yeah.
Soul Suite,
go and catch up, and you can meet the man himself. And you never know, if you pick your day right, Cliff Richard might be there. I will see you again next time. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.